Long time no see. I am Snowy Padre for Aspect of Gaming, and we are jumping on to the podcast number 3 for Aspect of Gaming, coming up to, what is this, April 2014? That's what's going on. The podcast is with Oceanic Gaming, but before we dive into some eSports chat about New Zealand, and actually we've got a few questions that span Australia and just sort of in general, we're going to do a little update for events on Aspect of Gaming, what we've been up to and what we will be up to in the coming months. So this weekend we've got a Dota 2 tournament going live on this channel. I believe it is Saturday and Sunday, so that's going to be happening. Pretty good fun, just a small community thing, but we do have some pretty outrageous teams in it, so it'll be interesting to see who takes away the first place there. Second thing, helping out at a live LoL tournament this weekend as well at Giganet Cafe for the University of Auckland Video Game Club and ESA, the ESA club with the University of Auckland. They're going to be running a LoL tournament over at Giganet Cafe, and we're going to be helping them out, so it's going to be pretty fun. Warcraft 3 LAN coming up later in May, going to be a blast. Go check out details of that on our Facebook page. We're also running 3 tournaments at Auckland 6, the next big upcoming LAN for New Zealand in the next few months. We're going to be doing the Dota 2, StarCraft 2 and LoL tournaments for that. It's going to be heaps of fun. And of course we get a free seed. Yay! No, but the main thing, tournament, come on. And a few Barcrafts coming up. StarCraft 2 at MLG Anaheim, Dota 2 at DreamHack, and we're going to be looking into doing one for the League of Legends All-Stars match, and we also want to get a few viewings over at the University of Auckland to watch the OUSA Grand Finals for their League of Legends tournament coming up in a few weeks. I think it's next weekend. I'm horrible with dates, but you can find out more about all of this by checking out our website and Facebook page. That's all going to be linked at the end of this podcast and available for you. But without further ado, we're going to go into the chat. Just first introducing you to my chat companion, Matt Ross from Aspect of Gaming. How's it going, buddy?
Hey Theo, it's going pretty great.
Awesome. Matt does a few of the tournaments for OUSA down in Dunedin, so he's got a little bit of experience there. And of course, he's one of the main guys down at Dunedin for Aspect of Gaming, running events and building the community in general. He's a great guy. For Aspect of Gaming, we're now welcoming Oceanic Gaming to the podcast. Podcast number 3. They're our centre of attention for this podcast, the dominating eSports organisation of New Zealand, and inviting a few Australian teams coming in as well. They're doing great stuff with eSports in New Zealand, and they're here to answer your questions and talk about eSports in general. We've got Michael Tyler and Scott Riddell from there. How's it going, guys?
Hey man, it's going really good. I'm actually really excited about the stuff that APoG is doing. I hadn't had the rundown yet, and I'm really excited about it.
Wicked, cheers.
Yes, I've been to some of your events. They are pretty sick. I've been to some of your bar crafts, and I've had a heck of a lot of fun. So looking forward to what you've got coming up.
Yeah, awesome. We've actually a few crazy things planned, getting a few big events for things like TI3 and LoL Season 4. We'll see how that goes. But enough about us. It's all Oceanic Gaming time. We're kicking off the questions tonight. Simple and sound. Who are you guys? What is Oceanic Gaming? And what do you do within the organization?
Alright, I'll start this one off. Who am I? I'm Scott Riddell, also known by the pseudonym Wait For It on League of Legends. I am the co-owner and jack of all trades for Oceanic Gaming, really. I started the company up with Woody back in February 2013. I think it was in planning for a couple of months prior to that. What is Oceanic Gaming? It's an esports organization based in Auckland, New Zealand. We've been trying for a very long time to break into the Australian scene, but it's proven very difficult. That's a nice byline, that we are esports company based in Auckland. It doesn't really explain what we do. We host tournaments, gaming events, we help promote tournaments and gaming events, and we're generally looking to expand the infrastructure for esports in the Oceanic region. And I'll let Michael introduce himself as well.
So guys, I am Michael Taylor, otherwise known online as Maddox. I was brought into Oceanic Gaming pretty recently, about end of last year, primarily to be a community manager, focus on running events during the week for you guys, to get you involved and try build up the community. Since then, I've helped out with quite a few of the live events. We had the high school one and the university one in the last about month or so. I've been to both of those, helping out with those, and it's been really awesome getting to meet people in the community. Yeah, that's what I do here.
Yeah, I think that's it fairly in a nutshell. The way we do what we do, I think we're going to approach later, unless you'd like a rundown now, Theo.
Yeah, feel free to give just a quick rundown if you like.
All right, so the idea behind Oceanic Gaming was to expand eSports. And when we begun this, over a year ago actually, there wasn't really much of a scene to begin with. This was before Riot Oceania stepped into the scene, and they've changed it in a really big way. And this was before that there were opportunities for New Zealand and Australian gamers to really make themselves known internationally. It's very hard to create a team to become competitive if there isn't events and tournaments to enter in, and that's something that we've always tried to provide. Places for teams to band together and try bring down the opposition, really, to become number one. It's so hard without that competitive infrastructure. That's something that North America and Korea is the big one that you hear just do so well at the moment. So we began hosting events and hosting tournaments. We also wanted to build a community to get people involved, so we started running weekly events and then bi-weekly events. And pretty much everything we've been doing is to promote New Zealand esports, is just to host more competitive events and have it structured and organized. And I think we've made pretty good headway so far. There's obviously so much room to improve. And with the introduction of Riot Oceania, there's even more we can do. So it's all great and all moving forward.
Definitely. And you touched on something really interesting there about the infrastructure of esports in New Zealand compared to the rest of the world, and you touched on the US. I just find it funny. It's weird. In season 2 or 3, I think it's 2, for League of Legends competitive for like the LCS and everything. I remember TSM saying there wasn't enough talent pool in the US compared to Korea, and that's why they were having so much trouble. They couldn't train hard enough to beat the guys over in Korea. I just remember that random little tidbit of information from one of the earliest seasons, but it's very much
brought up still to this day that North America isn't as good as Korea because of the infrastructure, and I think you'll find it is an underlying problem in most countries. The reason that Korea is so much different is because they had a good 8 or 9 years of StarCraft 1, StarCraft Brood War preparation for esports. And because of that, the money was there, the formats were there, the companies were there, they're all based around esports. So when these new games came out, once they started gaining popularity, it was such an easy transition that these companies are now hosting challenger circuits or challenger series for these teams. And when you have more teams in the pool, it starts getting more and more competitive, and obviously the talent rises. And all of a sudden you have teams like Pt.1 and all these amazing Najin teams, etc., and they really are just so dominant. And it's something that America is still moving towards. I feel like the LCS and the Coke Challenger Series over there is just amazing. But they obviously have more steps to take to be at the same level as Korea, and we obviously have a lot more steps to take to be at the same level as America.
Yeah, definitely, and it's just it's cool that you guys are getting in here when all of that's happening for overseas, and when a lot of the gaming companies from overseas are bringing that competitive infrastructure, or a little bit of it, or the chance to be part of that global infrastructure to New Zealand, like Riot and City. But we will move on. We're going to cover more of that, I think, in around about the 5th question coming into this chat. Bit of a long one there. 3rd question coming into the chat. What's your advice for starting up an esports group or organization for tournaments and things in New Zealand? Do you have any advice just for kicking it all off, Scott?
I do indeed, but Michael, do you want to start this one off, or would you like to let me have it?
I'll have a go. I mean, obviously I wasn't around at the beginning of Oceanic Gaming, but from my perspective, as if I was going to come from an outsider that has no experience with this, what I would say is first of all, you need a group of really dedicated people that love what they're doing. Obviously, we all at Oceanic Gaming love not only League of Legends, but the gaming and the gaming community in New Zealand, and we all want to be part of building it up. And that's why we've been able to be reasonably successful with what we do. So you definitely need a group of guys at the beginning that will really put their time and effort into getting it going, because it's not going to be easy. There's going to be lots of promoting, lots of having little to no viewers and people on your websites until you can get your name out there. And you need something that's going to separate you from everyone else. There's already lots of people, groups that'll stream random games host just the one-off tournament, you've got to make a point of difference. You've got to say, we're going to be the best place for the community to come together and talk about stuff. We're going to be the best place where the community can come together and have awesome events that they can play in. So that's what I think from an outside perspective. For anyone that might be looking at starting up something like this, you need a good group of people and something that will really set you apart.
Yeah, I'd agree with that as well. For the beginning, the very startup, you need to have a great plan and a goal. You need to be working towards something, otherwise it's all really haphazard and you don't really get the progression that you need. You need to be prepared to be working at a loss for the foreseeable future. It takes quite a bit of investment to get these things started. When Oceanic Gaming was just starting, we invested a lot into aggressively advertising and marketing. So we'd run competitions with RP giveaways. For all our weekly events, there'd be pretty considerable prizing for the top 5 people, or the team that won really. And we put a lot of initial investment into those first 4 to 6 months where we just needed to grow the fan base. Starting from one fan on Facebook or one follower on Twitter, it is so hard to get the word out there, and you really need to have that incentive to, as Michael said, to differentiate yourself to why they should come watch you and not someone else. And I think above all, Oceanic Gaming's consistency has been one of the reasons people can come by. Every Thursday they know that there's going to be a community event. We've started other nights as well that have just been incredibly successful. Recently, a event sponsored by Playtech every week as well. And just having that one place you can come to and you know what's going to be on every night is just a huge driving factor, I think.
Yeah, dedication and a solid team are just the two big key things. I so totally agree with that. Building an eSports scene for a company of gamers at the very, very start of it all, it was just me and a friend, and we couldn't get enough off the ground because we didn't have enough people, and we couldn't get enough people who had the right skills or have enough time to do the training, and just pulling together the group is so hard, but it's what you need, and put time into building the group rather than trying to just jump in there and do stuff yourself. It's such good advice. Moving on really quickly, what is it like running tournaments and building them and managing them and dealing with the teams and setting up the structure? What's it like doing all of that?
I'll let Michael take this away. He's recently been at a couple of our live events and he's been doing a great job. So
I can say in one word, it's pretty hectic, but it's amazingly rewarding and fun. Luckily we've got some pretty good software behind us now. So setting it up initially is tough when you've got to micromanage all the teams joining, you're taking payments, that where you're hosting it, when you're hosting it, and especially that first couple of hours when we've been there, the recent 2, especially with high school kids, they're not quite as organized. Getting them set up, getting everyone going, fixing any problems they have initially is pretty hectic. When there's only a couple of you there, it's made even more hectic. But overall, it's such a great thing to be a part of. I've never been very good at LoL, so I always thought, okay, the way I can help is I can be on the community side of it, running events, talking to the community, and it's such a great thing to be a part of. Both of them have been there in between games when I've got free time. I've been talking to community members, really good players there, talking about what we do, talking about the events, and really just getting to know what they enjoy about them, what they want to do more. And it's something that I've really enjoyed doing, and if any of you guys have the chance to get out and go be part of live esport, I highly suggest you do. Even if it's just starting out coming to these events, all of these events you can come to and spectate and see what's going on, and from there you can go on. But yeah, so they're a lot of hard work. Once you get a good organization behind it and you have a system in place for running them, it doesn't become too bad. You can sort of set it up, have a software to do all the registrations. You just rock up on the day with your nice bit of paper of who's coming and who's paid. But yeah, they are a hell of a lot of fun to run, but at the same time, a lot of hard work. So make sure you've got some guys there that are ready to put the work in to make sure that they're really top notch.
Cool. Scott, do you have anything to add to that in general? I know you're more on the casting side of things and the development side of things behind the scenes, but knowing tournaments and seeing admins run them and probably advertising a lot for them as well. yeah, how's it been for you, sort of getting used to running tournaments and being involved with them?
To begin with, Woody Murata-Wu has been the driving force behind Oceanic Gaming, and he's the one that really kickstarts all the events, and he's just absolutely amazing, like phenomenal drive. It's his passion for the game and passion for esports is unbelievable. So getting on his coattails and riding him through is pretty much the best feeling ever. That was a little bit more homoerotic than I intended, but I'm going to stand by it. It's just great. So he comes up with an idea for an event, live event, collegiate scene, something like King of the Rifts, huge $10,000 tournament, and I get on behind it, and I set up the website, I set up all the registration and automation of payments, and I pretty much work on that entire side for him. So he hands me over the details, and I make sure that everyone can sign up, everyone can pay, and that we have to do as little manual work as possible behind that, because it's just horrible. Every team has a captain and 3 subs and 10 sets of contact details, and having that automated is my job, and making it easier on the team is my job. And once we have all those details, doing the live event is great as well. I am generally the analytical caster for these events. However, we've started bringing on new casters, and they've just been phenomenal. And I've had a really good experience. I've mainly done the online events, but they've always been very good. I think it's Murphy's Law that anything that can go wrong will go wrong. So online events, you have disconnects, you have teams that are having problems with the net cafe, etc., etc. But on overall, they've just been fantastic. Yeah.
Definitely. Yeah, it's such a rush, I can tell you that. And having that driving force with Woody is what pushes it forward. He's been there from the beginning, and you know, he's made the mistakes, and now he's learned from them, and he's getting better and better. And that's a lot of what it is actually about for setting up groups and stuff as well. You will make mistakes, and mistakes are what you need to get better. They really are. You have to make mistakes, or you can learn from other people's mistakes. That's difficult because you don't understand the mistakes as much. But yeah, developing and learning and having that drive is so key. Just to continue on, just pound it out. No homo there either, come to think of it. Anyway, brilliant. Now this gone. Question. The next question coming up is a very long one, and probably one that we're going to spend ages on because it's so in depth and there's a lot to say about it. But somebody asked on the event page for this podcast, do you believe that both the population and geographical location of New Zealand, and to a lesser extent Australia, prohibits major growth of esports within these two countries, within Oceania? For example, there are currently no major Australian or New Zealand Dota teams, and I don't believe any Australian or New Zealand players have what it takes to, or have been to TI4, let alone an entire team. Yeah, who would like to sort of kick off on this question in general? Who's a bit more passionate about it?
I'll take a stab at it from my idea, and you guys can then analyze what I've said. Personally, I think we have the population to do it. There are so many gamers here in New Zealand. Like, I'll go around and just like go out to high schools, especially, and at my university, and it's like every second person plays video games. There's probably more people playing video games and even like League of Legends in New Zealand than there are people playing some sports in New Zealand. I think we've got one of the higher gamers per capita in the world. So I don't think we've got a problem of our population. I think what the major problem is with the growth of esports in New Zealand is that enough people don't know about these live events and know that they're happening. I've seen going to these events, once people know they're there, all of a sudden they're like, wow, we should be doing bigger, better things. With the likes of things like Digital Nations coming through recently, obviously that's helping out a bit more. But I think once people start to realize, hey, there are live events going on here, I can go take part in these, I think we'll start to see more of these big events, and we can hopefully grow more towards what the likes of Australia currently has. And once we start getting these bigger events, we'll hopefully start getting more support from companies like Riot, and maybe they'll start throwing bigger events themselves down here, and then things will just blow up, and we could hopefully go to something like Australia's got at the moment. But yeah, I think it's all about getting people, first of all, making them understand these events are definitely happening. They can come along. They're tons of fun, and it's a really positive thing to be a part of. And then once they come, they'll be like, yeah, this is awesome. Let's start building up something bigger. But yeah, I think people have to understand that first before we can start building up something bigger.
Wicked. Hey, Scott, what do you think?
All right, so I touched upon infrastructure a lot earlier, and I like to bag on this a lot. I feel like this region, just Oceania, has lacked the infrastructure and organization in the past, and we've always been looking to bring the community together and show everyone that it is possible to have the infrastructure built, to have these tournaments happen. I want to have an Oceanic LCS. I want to run the Oceanic LCS. That's always been a dream of mine. And it's up to every individual gamer to get involved. And that could just be participation, that could be spectating, that could be spreading the word, and just getting everyone involved to make it all happen, really. And if we do want these big events, it has to be on you as an individual to get involved in one way or another, because, one individual isn't much, 10,000 individuals, and I feel like we'd have the support to, get majorly noticed down here and to start making things happen on a bigger level.
Awesome. Hey, Matt, do you have any insights into the topic?
Yeah, it's mostly just reiterating on what's already been said, though. It's really you've got to get out there and be a part of it. Like, for example, last year when I ran the sort of pseudo barcraft for Season 3 World Finals for League of Legends, it started off as just a small idea like, hey guys, let's go to some restaurant or a bar, get together, watch the game. But then the event just grew and grew until it was over 100 people attending, and we ended up being cramped in like this small little room that I booked out at the university. I mean, it was large, but not 100 people large. And we ended up watching it on a projector, and it was such a great night as well. I mean, I had people coming up to me afterwards saying things like, I didn't even know things like this existed. This is amazing. Like, I can't believe people aren't doing this more. And a lot of people were saying, why couldn't we get a bigger venue? That was one of the things that came up. And I just said things like, well, venues, they don't know about this thing. They're really cautious about it because they don't see it around a lot. And if we want bigger venues, if we want more of these events to happen, then we need more people to come along. I mean, it's growing a lot and it's really, really great, but you need to contribute to it. And when we do that, it just makes it really, really incredible to run as well. I mean, I had a blast running that last year, and I'm currently having a blast running the Targo Uni League tournament as well, and hoping to get a great crowd turn out for the grand finals for that match. So, yeah, it's really all about individuals, like Michael and Scott have said, individuals attending these events.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I'm going to put in my 2 cents about this question in general. Population and geographical location probably a bit more, do not affect, in my opinion, the growth of major esports within New Zealand or Australia or Oceania as a whole. Geographically, internet would be a core issue, but we still do enough. Like, this is the thing. Again, as Michael said, per capita, we have a strong esports presence. That means there is a higher percentage of people within our entire population that is interested in esports and can get enthusiastic about it and put up petitions and things like that. Well, it's not forcing, but we've encouraged major organizations to build servers in our region because we're so passionate. That is how passionate we are, and that's what they've seen. That's what they've noted. We're that good. We have had competitive teams from lots of different esports get to places. We've had a lot of competitive CS teams. We've had a lot of competitive Heroes of New Earth teams actually going to DreamHack, for example, and winning tournaments at DreamHack. I mean, that's pretty insane. And I'm pretty sure we've got a couple of high tier Dota 2 teams, but I don't know the stats about them and competing internationally, so I won't say anything about that. But that's what the question asked specifically. But long story short, we have more than enough coverage. We're getting servers, and everything that we do is impactful. But yeah, we do need to be consistent, and that's the difficult thing. With League of Legends, I think we can be consistent. We're putting on events constantly that are drawing a crowd for League of Legends. The bigger challenge is drawing a crowd for other games currently. And like for Aspect of Gaming, we've tried to grow other scenes. We've tried to bring in more of the community. But it's not only that the events aren't as big. It's just that the community isn't as vibrant or as communicative because there's not as much going on and they just don't know about it. So it's more about the communication thing. There's so much going on for League of Legends that the network is so big that it can, by word of mouth, it can all just spider out and instantly hit everyone's ears that a massive barcraft is going on somewhere and something's happening, or a massive tournament is going on somewhere. Jump onto the stream. That's been a big one, actually. The community jumping on to local streams and supporting local tournaments that way is a huge thing. If we want to continue doing these things, we need sponsors and venues and things like that. Just people, big organizations helping us out. But what they need is proof that it's worth it for them. Otherwise, they're going to go somewhere else. There have been a lot of talks of like Red Bull and Burger Fuel and McDonald's trying to get involved with esports, but then they go, oh, I don't think there's enough of it, and they back out, and they look at something else, and that's really, really sad, but it's going to change, because there's so much else happening. Like Michael mentioned, there's Digital Nations, and that opened up a whole new window. Somebody just went for broke and put on a massive event, and it went well, because we're gamers. Oceania is gaming central, come on. And again, that per capita thing. Does anybody else have any other sort of random point they want to throw in there before we move on?
I think I'll probably save them for the next few questions. Don't run out of ideas too early.
Yeah, you don't want to run out, yeah. Moving on then. We will just move on. We've got one little viewer question that'll come.